Cheers. Welcome to this meeting of the Planning Committee. We're recording the meeting this evening using our webcasting system. The webcast will be transmitted live and also be available on the Council's website following the meeting. Generally, the public seating areas are not filmed. However, by entering the meeting room and using the public seating areas, you are consulting to being filmed and to the possible use of those images and sound recordings for webcasting and training purposes. I have the discretion to stop or suspend the recording of the meeting should this be necessary to maintain the proper running of the meeting. This is a meeting of the Council held in public. It is not a public meeting. All mobile devices should be switched off or set to silent so that the meeting is not interrupted by ringtones. Anyone else attending to film or audio recording any part of the meeting is asked to do so in a manner that does not disrupt the meeting. Please refrain from filming the public gallery or public speakers on items. If the fire alarm sounds, leave by the nearest exit and officers will advise when it is safe to return to the meeting. Before we begin this evening's meeting, I would like to remind members to speak directly into the microphone to enable those present and those watching online to be able to hear the proceedings. Finally, please could members remember to address your speeches to me as chairman. Procedure for each item. The committee report is taken as read by the Planning Committee. The Planning Officer will present their report and committee members will ask any points of clarification. The meeting will allow those who have given notice that they wish to address the committee on a particular application to do so. Each person will be invited to come forward to the table at the front of the public seating area and will have 3 minutes to give their views. Once all comments have been given, the meeting will then continue for members of the committee to discuss the application and reach a decision. No further comments may be made by members of the public. The committee should limit discussion to material planning considerations related to the development application. Commentary on non-planning related matters or overtly political statements are not permitted, as they should have an impact on the integrity of the planning process. Summary comments should be concise and relate to the development application being considered. Thank you, everyone. Have we any apologies for absence this evening?
No apologies.
No. Thank you. I'm going to pass it over to our barrister now. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you. I don't generally find that I need a microphone to make myself heard, but it's very useful. To be completely transparent, I am being paid to be here. I am here to provide advice, and I will give the same advice to officers, to councillors, and to the chair. My interest is purely in the lawfulness of this process. It is not in the politics or anyone's particular considerations, and I will ignore anything to do with politics or political considerations when giving my advice or in my analysis. I've been asked to speak at this point because this afternoon I was asked to give advice to officers on a matter raised in correspondence by Councillor Journet. And I'm going to repeat the advice that I gave to officers to you, the members of the committee, now. The background to this matter is as follows. In a series of social media posts, Councillor Journet appears to have alleged some sort of collusion or corruption on the part of members and officers. I have not seen any real evidence to substantiate these allegations in the social media posts, and so I have investigated them myself. It appears Councillor Journet identified that the leader of the council may at one point have been associated with a company called the Kratos or Kratos Group. This appears to be a PR firm. It also appears that another councillor, Councillor Callaghan, appeared in a video shown by Kratos or Kratos. It also appears that in 2017, Kratos worked on a project with Crest Nicholson, and they are a national house builder, and they are also the applicant in the Lower Dunton Road application, which is before you this evening. There is no evidence that I have seen of Kratos working on the Lower Dunton Road application, and indeed, on investigation, it appears that an entirely different.
Can I just ask Councillor Myers to sit down, please?
It's sorry. I'm confident Councillor Myers is taking me into account.
Excuse me, he might have felt awkward because he went to get a drink and he just stood there. And that's why I asked if you would like to sit down. No, that's you again, thank you.
Chair, I'm most grateful to you, and Councillor Myers, I'm most grateful to you as well for your consideration. On the basis that I've set out, Councillor Journet, across a series of social media posts, seems to have alleged some sort of conspiracy. The precise nature of this is not particularised. It's confined to dark hints on social media posts in block capitals. My analysis of this matter is as follows. There is no basis for Councillor Journet's allegations. At best, it is a poorly thought through conspiracy theory. Neither of the councillors that have a historic association with Kratos are on this committee. They don't have a vote. They have not, to my knowledge, been in touch with officers regarding the development, and neither councillor has exercised call-in powers. They have no more influence on the decision on Lower Dunton Road than they do on whether the sun will rise tomorrow morning. The highest that these allegations can be put is that two councillors who have nothing to do with the decision you're concerned with this evening were once connected to a company which around 8 years ago and in a different part of the country had an association with another company that is the applicant this evening. I'm not sure that even rises to the level of a conspiracy theory. Councillor Journet also accused officers of misleading him in relation to the correction between Kratos and Crest Nicholson. The accusation of misleading was that officers said there was no connection between the two. In respect of the instant application, which is what you have to consider, the comms agency used by Crest Nicholson is not Kratos. It is an agency called Chelgate. In relation to the decision you have to make, officers were correct that there is no connection, and I think they may be forgiven for not going back to 2017 to look for PR work that Kratos may have done. From this analysis, the following conclusion arises, or conclusions arise. By his social media posts, Councillor Journet has demonstrated a clear antipathy towards the Lower Denton Road development. At least some of that antipathy appears not to be based on the planning merits of the decision. Councillor Journet was advised by officers that he appeared to have predetermined his decision and should consequently and properly withdraw. In correspondence, he claimed he would not do so. And indeed, one of his posts made reference to keeping an open mind. The law requires that the decision maker look at public statements in the round and ask what a reasonable person equipped with the relevant facts would believe, and whether the reasonable person would believe that the councillor in question had predetermined his decision. In the instant case, my advice to you is that the reasonable person would so conclude. Councillor Journet has made repeated posts, public posts, in opposition to the development. Absolutely. These public posts misuse and misunderstand planning concepts, including the concept of very special circumstances, which is a technical term used in the NPPF. They also misstate the role of this committee, describing it as a rubber stamp, and I would certainly hope and advise you that you should not be acting as a rubber stamp. He also bases his opposition on spurious conspiracy theories. All of these indicate a closed mind. In my analysis, merely putting a disclaimer at the end does not counterbalance the impression given when taken in the round, and indeed is exactly what one would expect someone to do if they had already formed an opinion and wished to duck their legal obligations. I therefore advise the committee as follows, that any decision on Lower Denton Road in which Councillor Journet participates is likely to be tainted by apparent bias and therefore unlawful. I also advise that Councillor Journet's conduct may have breached clause 1.2 of the Code of Conduct, which requires councillors not to subject individuals to personal attacks. 3.1 of the Code of Conduct, which requires councillors not to compromise the impartiality of officers, and 5.1 of the Code of Conduct, which requires councillors not to bring the council into disrepute. Should Councillor Journet repeat his allegations in this meeting, he will be in breach of Rule 20A of the committee procedure rules, which prohibit improper conduct and include attacks on other councillors, particularly those not here. I therefore advise that in respect of the Lower Denton Road matter, Councillor Journet withdraw and also report himself to the council's appropriate disciplinary procedures. This is my legal advice. It's not something I'm going to debate with you. You may take it or you may leave it, and I tender it to you on that basis.
Thank you. I will now go into declarations of interest.
Can we not speak on that and ask questions on that?
I think I'm going to have my right of reply here because, quite frankly, in Langdon Hills on the Dry Street development many years ago, Councillor Williams and Councillor Rackley, they demonstrated outside of the Dry Street. No, don't interrupt me. They demonstrated proactively outside this development, then came into this chamber and said they had a free mind and an open mind to this particular application. I have an open mind to this application, so I really do refute everything you're saying there. I was lobbied by the head of legal, and quite frankly, if you're going to spin this as effectively the council's lawyer, that's down to you. However, I'm entering this debate today, I'm entering this committee meeting with an open mind, and I simply highlighted the officer's words on the day. As I quite rightly said at the end of those posts, I'm coming into this committee meeting with an open mind. So that is what I'm going to remain to, and that's exactly what I'm going to do today. Thank you very much.
This is for Councillor Journet to take a view on. If he participates in this, and if, as a result, the the application doesn't pass, my advice is that the applicant will have grounds to have the matter overturned by judicial review. You must take a view on whether you can continue with this knowing that it may well be tainted by unlawfulness. If you do not continue with this, the applicant has a right to ask the Secretary of State to effectively take it off the Council's hands and determine the matter for you. It's up to you as a committee.
Well, you've heard the advice from our barrister, and you don't wish to take the advice. Let me finish. Turn your microphone off. You don't wish to take the advice. That's entirely up to you. He's told you the consequences, so the decision lies with you. I'm not going to ask you to leave the committee. If you want to sit on it, that is up to you.
I'm going to remain on the committee on the basis that I have an open mind today. As far as I'm concerned,
Jeanette, I did
Jeanette, it is. Thank you. As far as I've made it very aware in this committee today, I've come with an open mind, and if you can't get past that, that's something you need to decide upon yourself, not me. I'm telling you now, I have an open mind, and I will continue to do so throughout the application. Over to you.
Thank you again then for not allowing me to say whether you could speak or not. I was going to allow you to speak, but you're so rude sometimes. Thank you. And don't laugh. It's not a laughing matter.
Oh, it's hilarious. It's hilarious.
And you, Councillor Blake, you seem to think it's funny. Right.
Yeah, what I find funny, and quite right, I listened to every word. I listened to every word this gentleman said. And one of the very last points that he actually made is that you shouldn't really insult other members. So yet tonight, let's be honest with you, what you put today, I'm feeling unwell today, so please leave me alone. I need to be at my best to deal with you tonight. Now, you think that's appropriate?
That is nothing to do with this application.
It's about...
Can I just ask you, what are the planning merits of that email?
What I'm saying is, you actually, one of your comments was that we should always be respectful to other members, and quite rightly so. I'm just saying that in this instance, we've had an email tonight that was totally different to that. That's what I'm saying on that particular issue.
So it's not that.
No, it's a point of order.
We will now go into declarations of interest and lobbying. Councillor Journay.
Thank you very much, Chair. Just to confirm that I did raise some of the points and some of the facts inside the officer's plan or the officer's report in regards to the 146 homes on Lower Dunton Road. I have been lobbied by the community surrounding this particular project, and I was also lobbied by the head of legal, who gave me incorrect information that was confirmed by the barrister today. And as far as I was concerned, and I'm sure the public would very much like to know as well, that the head of legal lobbied me into not speaking any further about the matter. So, quite frankly, that is as far as my lobbying declarations go today. Thank you.
Would it help if I advised on what lobbying is?
Thank you.
Lobbying relates to trying to get one decision or another decision. I have read the correspondence. What happened between the head of legal and Councillor Journay is that he was given legal advice to the effect that he was showing signs of apparent bias. As you've heard, I've confirmed that I agree with that advice. Legal advice is not lobbying.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that wants to lobby on this declaration? Councillor Myers.
Thank you, Chair. I've been sent emails and received a phone call regarding application number 7 on the list, which is the Dry Street, Langdon Hills one. We spoke for 5 minutes or so with a resident there, and had a conversation, but we did not discuss anything about the application at all.
Thank you, Councillor Myers. Anybody else? No. We'll go on to item 3 now, which is the planning committee minutes. And can I ask you to speak on this one for me, please?
Yes, of course, Chair. Once again, I was asked to give legal advice to officers on this, and I repeat that advice to you now. By email of 27th at 12:04, sorry, I do apologise, by email of 26th August at 16:42, Councillor Jourmet made the following allegation. These minutes are incorrect. You failed to mention Councillor Harrison being challenged on his absence the previous week when seen out canvassing during his staged illness and the planning committee. And that seems to be the end of the sentence. Since our chair, quotation marks, didn't know anything about anything, close quotation marks, you are putting this application in potential judicial review territory by holding this back. If the vote had proceeded on the original night, the basis of the voting decisions of those who were not ill and a 3-person quorum, with Councillor Harrison chairing the meeting, this application would not have passed. Please update the minutes accordingly, otherwise I will be forced to raise the matter again tomorrow. We do not want another planning application stained with more misleading information from officers within our council. Now, I was present at the meeting to which he referred. My note records various councillors shouting allegations at each other. None of those councillors produced any evidence to substantiate those allegations beyond assertions that someone had seen something at some point. I did not find that evidence convincing, and at the time I advised that the matter was irrelevant. There is no legal requirement, or not in this case, to maintain a verbatim minute. The legal requirement is to record the decision and the reasons for that decision. Had you taken unevidenced allegations relating to non-planning matters into account in your planning decision, you would have acted unlawfully because you would have taken into account immaterial consideration. As it is quite right that those allegations are not included within the record of the meeting that records the decision and the reasons for that decision. There is no need to record them, and indeed including them as reasons, which is the only reason you would need to record them, would taint the decision with unlawfulness. My advice is therefore that there is no need to include that in the minutes, and I think the rather unfortunate spectacle can perhaps now be put to bed.
I'm not going to talk about the minute. What I'm going to say,
the
the gentleman wanted evidence. I just want to give you, forget what happened at that planning meeting. I gave evidence to the chief executive and yourself a couple of days after the incident of non-attendance, saying I had witnesses to say that it happened. So I can't understand you can say there was no evidence on what I actually said happened. I gave a letter to your email to yourself and to the chief executive, clearly stating that he had been seen by members and they were happy to identify themselves at canvassing at night. So to say there was no evidence is not actually true. I understand what you're saying and what happened at the meeting, I get that, but to actually say that there was no evidence produced is actually not true, and I would like that to be clarified on that issue alone.
Councillor Blake, there is a test. I'm applying a test for evidence, and that evidence is looks for something beyond the level of assertion. It is perfectly possible for anyone to write an email claiming that various people saw various things. Now, if those people were to provide testimony.
They was happy
If
to do
those,
that.
if those people were to provide photographs, then that is a different matter. But, as I understand it, those people have not provided testimony, have not provided photographs. They may be happy to do so, but the fact remains they have not done so currently. So insofar as as it relates to the material I have before me, and insofar as it relates to the material that was produced in that meeting when the allegations were levelled, I have not seen anything that I would consider evidence rather than mere assertion.
Those allegations were made way before that. The officer knows that I'm
Nothing
correct
to do
in what
with the
I'm saying.
planning
And I
tonight,
actually
yeah.
said I could produce the evidence, and I've had no response at all from the officers on that.
And yet you haven't. I think this is now gone beyond the realms of what is relevant to either the minutes.
Can we
or
just
to
ask
anything else
Councillor
before
Harrison
this.
directly, was you canvassing on the night that you
Councillor
claimed to be ill?
Journet,
Yes
if we are
or
talking about
no?
planning tonight, we are not talking about this.
Canvass on the night you was meant to be ill, yes
Could I
or no?
possibly advise Councillor Journet to at least attempt to act like he is a member of a planning committee?
I thought you was not meant to be political.
That is a piece of legal advice.
Well,
If
I'm
you are
asking,
engaging in this matter, which is not anything to do with any of the planning issues that are before you,
we did
my
last week.
advice is that it was inappropriate last week,
No, it
and
wasn't.
it is inappropriate this week. I've been asked to make clear, and I'm more than happy to do so, my comments are limited to saying that no councillor produced evidence at that meeting to support their allegations. And that was exactly how I phrased it when I gave the initial advice. I will add that I haven't seen anything beyond that that would go beyond an assertion. And my advice is that this is irrelevant to the planning matters before you, and the more time you spend on it, the more time you risk tainting any decision you make and also waste public time and money.
People are here tonight to listen to their planning application. Can we move on with it now? Can I ask all those in favour of the minutes, before you say... No. Before you say anything, Councillor Blake, we have made an amendment today at the request of you, which I think you had this, didn't you?
I have it.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Blake. The amendment I believe you asked for, and it was one that I advised, comes under item 6, and it's at the start of this item. Councillor Blake stated he had received questions from residents regarding the application but had not been lobbied. That's, according to my note, an accurate description of, or accurate summary of what happened. If it's not, I'm prepared to be corrected.
Be prepared to be corrected.
Councillor Blake, can you do it through the chair, and then we'll let you speak?
Through the chair. I really didn't want to bring this up because I actually tried to help officers out tremendously, as you officers here will know. I came in on a particular day with a question that was raised regarding an application that the residents thought it should be pulled because it hadn't been gone out to consultation with the public. I came in here and I spoke to Charlie and said along the lines of it's not there, what's the issue? And Charlie quite rightly turned around and said, yes, we omitted to put it in the actual thing. At the same time, and this is where I believe I'd done the council a big favour and I got penalised for it. At the same time, I'd been asked to look at the new protocol, which I studied. And I found something that I hadn't noticed before. So I came up to these offices and I said, is that right that we've got to give emails now and text messages or whatever if we've been lobbied? Not only just got to say we've been lobbied, we've actually got to submit them. At which point the officer knew absolutely nothing about that. And this is the protocol. This is the day of the meeting, by the way, talking about midday-ish, on the day of the meeting. So I said, yeah, that is the new protocol. So, and the officer came back, is it number 3.7? I said, I don't know. I wasn't completely sure what number it was, but it was there in black and white. And we had an agreement, more or less, that, I tell you what, it's a bit late now, email every member of the committee, just saying, are you aware of this new protocol? Basically, we didn't let you know before, and we should have let you know. Every member on the committee, in fact, every councillor should have the information, to be honest with you, because they can all sit on the planning committee that have done the training. And that was it. I thought I could have come to this meeting on that night, waited till somebody says, I was lobbied, and then I could have turned around to two officers and yourself, to be honest with you, Chair, and say, can you tell me where they followed the correct protocol? At which point, you would have looked at me as if I was stupid, maybe I am, and so would the officers, not knowing that the new protocol that we agreed. Officers did not know the protocol. So I was a little bit miffed. At 3:30 that afternoon, I get an email from an officer. That officer says, can I give all the information, text messages, emails, and everything that I've had regarding this particular planning issue? At which point, having taken legal advice, so it was legal advice. So I phoned up the officer and I said, I assume every member's got this information. No, just you. So I could not understand how only I have been challenged on this new protocol. I had come in here and said, I wasn't lobbied, I told you already, I was asking a question. So I was not in a very good mood, you can imagine that. I was at home and I said, I'm going to come straight down here and see the Chief Executive. I saw Christine Lyons at first, who openly admitted it was an error, it was a mistake. Okay? I then went to see the Chief Executive, who also admitted there was a mistake legally. All right? So I'll be honest with you, fair play to the Chief Executive and fair play to Christine Lyons. I got a very, very good apology from them. All right? So that is why, and also I was told I had to show what I had actually received, that I'd put out on Facebook. I showed Christine Lyons what I put on Facebook, which is what I came in here when on the night and actually said I do. Because I've been put in such a position by legal that I felt pressured. I felt completely pressured and for some reason, I was being victimised. And yet, if you actually look at it, I'd actually done the council a favour. I came in here to give the council a favour, and that every member on this committee, and as I said to you, it should be every member of the council, given that information on the protocol. That's the facts. So when I came in here, I made the point that I thought it was very important that I stressed the fact, because of the legal implications that were made against me, that I showed Christine Lyons that, and that's why I simply asked it to be minted. And up until tonight, up until you come in here, the officers had no problem with that.
Can you read it out? No, it's in the minutes. It's in the minutes.
So what amendment?
That's it. So you read out what you had, and now we've amended it to that.
So it's been amended to Councillor Blake stated that he received questions from residents regarding the application, which he had shared with the Executive Director Growth and Partnerships, but he had not been lobbied, which the Executive Director confirmed.
Absolutely, that's fine. That's all I asked.
So that was all you wanted?
Yeah, so it's been done.
And you can see the rationale behind it now, how I was picked out.
I don't think anyone is arguing with you.
Well, you saying that was it.
I don't think anyone minds that you have that change. Breathe.
So now we have amended the minute. Is everybody happy with the minutes? Can I have a vote on that, please? All those in favour? Thank you. Any abstentions? Anybody against? Okay. I think it's carried. Item 4. Are we all ready now? Item 4, land to the east of Low and Dunton Road, Dunton, Basildon, Essex, redevelopment of the site to provide 146 residential dwellings, Class 3, provision of strategic landscape, provision of new vehicular and pedestrian access routes and associated infrastructure. Can I pass this to you, Katie? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Before I start my presentation, I will refer you to desktops for you all to look at. There has been attached to that update sheet is a letter of objection against proposal submitted by Councillor Strada. Unfortunately, he couldn't be here tonight, so I've provided you all with a copy with his objections. Right, moving on. So as you can see, this application relates to land east of Lower Dunton Road. Description there reads as redevelopment site to provide 146 residential dwellings, provision of strategic landscape, provision of new vehicular and pedestrian access routes and associated infrastructure. In front of you is the site location plan. If you can see, the site has been...
Katie, can we leave this for a minute? Councillor Baker.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and apologies, Katie, for interrupting your presentation. I should have said this before we started. Could Council please repeat their advice in terms of the legal implications of the vote in this particular item? I just want to be absolutely clear where we stand.
My view is that if Councillor Journet takes part in the debate and votes on this, then it will be tainted by apparent bias, which could potentially make it unlawful. Now, of course, if it is passed even in the teeth of Councillor Journet's objections, then I suspect the developer will not have any complaints, so will not be bringing a judicial review. However, if it is not passed, and Councillor Journet takes part in a debate and votes, then, in my view, the developer will have not just an arguable claim for judicial review, but a claim for judicial review that I would put at a better than 50% chance of success. In other words, it's a claim I would take.
Councillor Baker.
Sorry, I just wanted to ask a follow-up question to that. In terms of judicial review, you're referring to whether the application is passed or not passed, rather than any financial implications, for example, for the council.
I'm sorry, there will be financial implications if you lose a judicial review, but that's obviously not a planning consideration. That's just a reason to think very carefully about all of your decisions. But the limit of my advice is that it would make the decision unlawful or tainted by illegality. It's probably a better way of putting it. And so if an aggrieved party, which in this case would be the developer, because they're not going to be aggrieved if they get their permission, if the developer is an aggrieved party, they would have an arguable claim for judicial review.
Thank you very much, Madam
It's
Chair.
not a...
So I'd just like to confirm as well, as we said
Excuse
previously,
me, Councillor Journet, I didn't say that
I
you
have
could
come
speak.
to this committee meeting with an
Councillor
open
Journet,
mind.
it is irrelevant.
No, it's not, because
It
the
is
gentleman who is the
irrelevant.
barrister has just claimed
Councillor Journet,
that my
I did
viewpoint
not
is
ask you to
tainted.
speak.
Please stop interrupting me. My mindset is not tainted. So as far as I'm concerned, I've come here today with an open mind. So I'll refute everything the barrister is saying here, and if you continue down this basis, there's potentially a complaint from my side onto you.
Councillor Journet,
Sorry?
we're going to stop the meeting now because
Perfect.
I'm not going to allow you to keep carrying on like this. You are not doing things through the chairman. You are just putting your mic on and speaking. And we don't have this at Basildon Council.
You just literally turned around to the barrister and said, I do know what Sam's speaking on this matter again. So as far as I'm concerned, you're going to ignore me when I put my hand up to speak. I stood here for 30 seconds with my hand up.
No,
wanted to
you
speak
didn't.
back.
Councillor Baker had his hand up before you.
Do you know what? Unbelievable.
Councillor Journet, my advice isn't a matter for debate. I'm an independent barrister instructed to give my advice to the committee. You can take that advice or leave that advice, but you shouting at me will not change that advice.
I do believe it's fair for the people that are here this evening to carry on with the meeting. So, Katie, would you like to continue? And I'm sorry for the interruption.
Thank you. Okay, I'll carry on. So yeah, for you, there is a site location plan. You will see the application site outlined in red in front of you. So the application site is located on the western edge of Basildon and it is bordered by Lower Dunton Road to the west and West Main to the east. It covers approximately 8.46 hectares and is relatively flat. The land is currently in agricultural use, consisting of arable farmland classified as Grade 3B, which is considered moderate quality. A small area of semi-natural woodland is located in the western part of the site, along with the boundary hedgerows and trees. The site lies within the designated green belt and is situated in flood zone 1, indicating the lowest probability of flooding. Overhead electricity cables crosses the northwestern corner of the site. Moving on to the aerial view in front of you. Again, the site is outlined in red there. You can see the field itself. To the east, the site is bordered by a small number of dwellings. So that's in the sort of eastern boundary on the western side of the site, on the eastern side of Lower Dunton Road. To the east, across West Main, there is Southfield Industrial Estate, and further in the north-eastern corner is Ford Dunton Campus. Beyond the immediate surroundings, the land to the north and south is predominantly agricultural, and they sort of comprise stables as well. There are nearby buildings, including to the west of the site is Freer Manor, that is adjacent to the site on the opposite side of the road. The nearest public rights of way includes a footpath which runs west to east, approximately 150 metres south of the site, and a bridleway as well. These route contributes to the site's connectivity and its relationship with the surrounding landscape. In terms of consultation, 37 properties were notified together with site notice and a press notice. The consultation exercise generated 5 responses. A summary of objections are listed on page 15 of the agenda pack. Moving on to the next slide, these are site photographs. So you can see the field in question, the application site. Following that, these photographs are taken along West Main, looking sort of into the site. As you can see, it's quite vegetated along that boundary, but there are sort of views through the trees. In front of you are the key issues. I won't go through them all, but as you can see, these are the key issues that were considered as part of the application. I'll just give you a moment to look at those. Happy to move on. Yeah. Okay, yeah, cool. Yeah. Councillor Blake, you're okay to move on? Are you still cool? Thank you. In front of you is the proposed site plan. So the application, as I said before, the application seeks full planning permission for the construction of 146 residential dwellings, together with associated infrastructure, including internal access roads, car and cycle parking, landscaping, utilities and ancillary structures. Vehicular access is proposed from West Main, forming a central spine road through the site with short cul-de-sacs extending from it. While no vehicle through route is proposed, a shared footway and cycleway will run along the southern and western boundaries of the main street, providing a connection to Lower Dunton Road. The layout supports sustainable travel by integrating pedestrian and cycle infrastructure throughout the site. The scheme includes on-plot car parking for all dwellings, supplemented by designated visitor spaces. Each dwelling will also be provided by secure cycle parking in accordance with the local standards. The development adopts a landscape-led approach with approximately 3.3 hectares of open space that equates to 40% of the total site area. This includes a centrally located play area and a network of green corridors and active travel routes. Building heights range from 2 to 2.5 storeys, and the proposed density is 32.4 dwellings per hectare, which is considered appropriate for the site's context and character. The scheme delivers a biodiverse net gain of 21.27% in habitat units and 10.36% in hedgerow units. Ecological enhancements include the installation of bat and bird boxes, creation of hedgehog highways in areas, wildflower planting to support pollinators and local wildlife. In front of you are some CIGs that have been provided for the application. So it shows the main avenue through the site. Also, there's open space and play space as well that's in front of you. Also in front of you, the next slide shows Section 106 infrastructure. So you can see the non-monetary and monetary requirements. So non-monetary being sort of the affordable housing, which they're providing 50%, and 73, which equates to 73 units out the whole scheme. Footways and cycle improvements. Also new bus infrastructure on West Main. Open space, which is safeguarded for Travellink. 30-year maintenance and monitoring, the approved sort of B&G plan. Monetary requirements will be education, healthcare, bus services, open space and sports, employment and skills, health and wellbeing, as well as a travel plan monitoring fee. So moving on to the planning balance. So this site is designated Greenbelt. The proposal constitutes inappropriate development under paragraph 154 of the NPPF. So the site, we've also considered the site in accordance with paragraph 155, and we have deemed it not to be grey belt. There is substantial harm to both spatial and visual openness of the green belt. However, the site is compliant with the golden rules under paragraph 156 of the NPPF, which this includes 50% affordable housing, infrastructure, improvements, and publicly accessible green space. So as we have deemed it to be inappropriate development in the green belt, and we've identified substantial harm to the green belt as well as the openness, the development must be justified by very special circumstances. The very special circumstances have been identified to include an acute housing need, deliverability of the scheme, and associated economic, environmental and social benefits. These are considered to outweigh the harm to the green belt. The council cannot currently demonstrate a 5-year housing land supply. The latest figures stand at 1.88 years. The application proposes 50% affordable housing. As I said before, this equates to 73 dwellings and includes a mix of social, affordable and shared ownership and discounted market sales. The economic benefits that have been put forward by the developer include job creation, local spending, council tax revenue. So the scheme will result in additional council tax receipt for the local authority. Skills and training. So the developer will contribute £300 per dwelling to support careers, education, information, advice and guidance, helping to broker jobs opportunity and support workforce development. Also, an employment and skills plan will be secured. These have all been given moderate weight in favour of the development. With regards to the environmental benefits, so you've got the biodiverse net gain, delivering 21.27% increase in habitat units and 10.36% increase in hedgerow units. This exceeds the 10% requirements required by the NPPF. New hedgerows and tree plants will enhance biodiversity across the site, which is currently lacking vegetation due to its agricultural use. Long-term management will support wildlife, including birds, reptiles and bats. There'll be fauna enhancements, so additional biodiversity measures, as they include bat and bird boxes, hedgehog highways. These will be secured via planning conditions. There'll be sustainable transport and energy, so the travel plan promotes active travel and reduces car dependency. The energy and sustainability statement outlines measures to reduce CO2 emissions, including solar panels and water efficiency initiatives. These have all been given moderate weight in favour of the proposal. Social benefits include sort of public open space, health and well-being. So again, that is new open space, and green infrastructure. So social benefits are considered to carry moderate weight in favour of the proposal. The application is therefore recommended to members for approval of the application, subject to conditions and completion of Section 106 agreement. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. Now I open it up to clarifications. Mr. Baker.
Katie, thank you for that. Can you just give a brief overview of what the NPPF describes as affordable housing? Because obviously you touched upon that 50% provision in your presentation.
Yeah, I will revert you to my manager, Charles Sweeney.
Thank you, Councillor Baker. Yeah, so I've got it here. So affordable housing includes homes for sale or rent and is for people whose needs are not met by the private market. Affordable housing is a key element of the government's plan to end the housing crisis, tackle homelessness and provide aspiring homeowners with a step onto the housing ladder. The government's NPPF defines the type of affordable housing as affordable housing for rent and affordable housing for sale. And I think on page 32 of the report it sets out the 10-year split of affordable housing proposed for this site.
Any more clarifications? Councillor Myers.
Thank you, Chair. It says in the report that there was a request for a school transport service from Essex County Council for educational purposes, and yet the applicant has said they found a walking route. Now, this is crossing a very, very main road. I'm just wondering where the walking route is to James Hornsby and to Great Berry, which are listed in the report as the two closest schools.
I don't actually have a plan to show you, actually. There is proposed enhancements to West Main, which will include sort of crossing as well of West Main. I don't actually have a plan to show you the schools in proximity to the site, but it is within walking distance, or the walking distance that's given by the Education Authority. The Education Authority have reviewed the correspondence from the agents regarding the upgrades to West Main, and satisfied with the walking distance that was put forward, and remove their request for the financial contribution for the school transport.
Councillor Kevin Blake. Oh, sorry. Did Councillor Myers, did you? Oh.
Just do quickly. Essex County, page 6 actually. Essex County Council Highways. The annual travel plan. How long does that annual travel plan last? And don't say a year.
Oh, thank you. It's 5 years.
5 years. Thank you. I thought you'd come out of 1 year. Okay. Yeah, a couple more, if I may. Yeah. Some of this, one part of this on we got here. Significant loss of visual and spatial openness. That's a big issue, and I can see right away throughout this. Page 12, 5.1.5. Let me get to it myself as well, so that I know exactly. 12, 9, 10. 12. 5.1.5 actually says there that NPF 204 sets out the appropriate development in these by definition harmful to the Greenbelt and should not be approved except under various circumstances. Substantial weight should be given to any harm to the Greenbelt, including harm to its openness and other than in the case of development of previous developments, land or grey belt. So on that part there, which we've seen to sort of ignored, is clearly saying there again that is a massive issue. Would you not agree?
hold on.
5.1.5.
I'm looking at 5.1.5. It says paragraph 153 of the NPPF. Is that the start of the paragraph that you're referring to? That sets out inappropriate development definition harmful
I'm
to...
looking at the, yes, in the pub, yes, you got it.
Yeah. So if you move to page... So, starting on page 26 of the report, I talk about harms to the green belt, and this is where it talks about the openness of the green belt, the visual and the spatial. And I worked my way through my assessment from page 26 to page 28, and that's where I conclude on the harm. So I do conclude that there is substantial harm to the openness of the green belt.
I don't see the relevance, sorry, my apologies. I don't see the relevance of us keep on pushing and pushing and pushing on this grey belt issue. It's not grey belt, it's green belt, and that's by our own standards, and that's what concerns me. Everything seems to relate, but if it was green belt, this grey belt, this grey, and I just don't see grey belt, and I just don't see the realisation why we've actually got it in there all the time.
As part of my job, I have to assess the site in accordance with the NPPF, paragraph 155, which was introduced in December last year. That talks about grey belt. In this instance, I have concluded that it's not grey belt, and I've said that within the report. But I have to go through that process and have to demonstrate that I've considered that to demonstrate why I come to the conclusion that it's not grey belt in this instance.
And just again, 5.1.67. The issue here. Well, I've got an issue here now. How much longer are we going to keep on going on about 1.88 years of every application we've had since I've been here over the last God knows how many? Maybe a year or so. That's never budged. It's been 1.88 all the time. So are we saying that developers are land banking maybe, so that you don't actually use any of your supply, therefore it doesn't alter? So you could have a developer, as I've said before, many a time, you could have a developer buy an awful lot of greenbelt land, get planning permission on it, not build on any, and then come to a planning committee like this and ask us to make a decision, and that decision could quite easily be, we're going to have to pass it, because you know what, we've only got 1.88 land supply here. When is that going to change? We must have built some houses since then. It seems crazy. So it is an issue, and it doesn't seem to be addressed. I can't remember it not saying 1.88, and I'm happy to be corrected on that, but I think I'm right.
Councillor Blake, yeah, it's a good question. And we did speak with the policy team earlier today, actually. Work is ongoing on the latest 5-year housing land supply, but we're looking in the region of 2.2 years, so it is increasing.
I just feel that maybe something in the report to let us know that it's increasing, because you can understand everybody sitting around here now must have been thinking the same as me, just not saying it. It seems crazy that we've had all this development and we've not moved at all on that. So I do have issues. And of course we always come back to the one issue. There's been other planning applications that have gone to appeal that we've actually won. But you know what? We always come back to Kennel Lane, don't we? It's always the one that we always go to have a little go. Don't find that. Don't really think that's acceptable at all. Really, keep on referring to the grey belt. Now we've got that. On page 24, 5.1.65, and you're going to have to bear with me while I go to that now, because honestly. I'm just showing you that I read the agenda, that's all I'm doing really.
Apologies, Councillor Blake. Did you say 5.1?
Page 24, 5.1.65, I hope. Page 24.
Page 30.
Right, 123, 124. Yeah. It says there that this 146 dwellings will significantly address our housing shortage. I will accept that it's going to address a part of our housing, but not significantly, is it? When you actually look at the amount of houses we are so far behind, I don't see how we can actually put in a report significantly address the situation. It doesn't. It addresses, it helps it a little bit, but not significantly at all. And again, I just think it's the wording of it that's just not correct there. There's nobody in this room that can think that it's a significant amount of housing to come off of our housing supply.
Okay. Councillor Journet.
I think Councillor Myers is.
I think he's waiting.
Thank you very much, Chair. So in the report it does say that this is high harm greenbelt. So why are officers recommending a scheme that blatantly conflicts with national and local policy?
So you're quite right. It does say it does contribute towards high harm on purpose A of the green belt. However, as going through the presentation and as set out in the report, the very special circumstances put forward outweigh the harm that's been identified on the green belt. So that's why it has been recommended for an approval.
Thank you very much. And just one more question, if I may, Chair. Natural England have raised serious concerns. Why are we ignoring statutory consultees who exist to protect biodiversity? Thank you.
Natural England have not been ignored, and it has been addressed in the report at page 74. I don't know what page it is on your electronic devices, but I've got the paper version here, so it's 74. So paragraph 5.670, where I speak about the impact upon Langdon Ridge SSI and Thorndon Park SSI. Langdon, I mean, this particular site falls outside of our RAMs, but you know, Natural England have commented on the application. They were concerned about the proximity of the site with Langdon Ridge SSI. As part of the site, there is a large open area of open space. I think 40% of the site is open space for residents to use. They were satisfied with the open space that's being provided on site. You know, this will hopefully prevent occupiers from travelling down to Langdon Ridge SSI using that, and hopefully using what's on their doorstep. Also, as part of the mitigation measures, there will be public education to educate the occupiers that, should planning permission be granted, that occupy these premises, so they understand what the open space is there for use for, and if people will use the SSI, what implications that could have with an increase of population using those areas. So naturally, we were satisfied with the amount of open space that's been provided on site and the education that leaflet drops, stuff like that, boards, the kind of things will be put on the development for occupiers to hopefully understand the implications if they were to use the SSI frequently.
And just one more question, if I may. So what happens to the bus subsidy in 3 years once it runs out? Are we going to have stranded children trying to walk all that way to school?
It's 5 years. The subsidy lasts for 5 years with highways. With bus services, so they ask for a contribution for 5 years, and after 5 years, bus services are meant to sort of fund themselves. That's the whole purpose of why they say 5 years, and then after that 5 years, they're meant to self-fund.
Councillor Myers.
Welcome, here we go. So going back onto that, the first point I was making in terms of the sustainability of why Essex, the applicant had said there's clear walking routes. Now, of course, I've just gone onto Google Maps and had a little look of what's there. I can't see on the transport thing from highways in terms of crossings and things they're going to put in, so I don't quite understand where they're going to actually cross the road. But the main route to, for example, James Hornsby School is 1.6 miles, about 35 minutes via Westmain. Now that is that's a 50-mile-an-hour road, and with a footpath down it, they can eventually cut through a housing estate to reach James Hornsby Secondary School, but that's not a particularly sustainable location for children to be walking to school. And even with Great Berry, which is in Langdon Hills, I know that's probably about a 20-minute walk from this particular location, but even then it is going through some very, very major roads in order to reach Great Berry School. So I'm just wondering, in terms of what is this footpath they've found in order to get there? Where is this route? Where is this walking route that is safe for children to go in? And I know Essex has said, okay, they've found one, but we've not seen what it is. Now that is a concern, because these are the children living here predominantly people buy a new house, they then have a child, so it's a young child for many years in the dwelling, and the closest primary school to this is Great Berry. It crosses major there's a few roundabouts there going south. It just seems a bit unsustainable walking distance from this location. That's my first point. The second point is in terms of its sustainability itself. I mean, do we consider this to be same as the Lower Dunton Road one? Now, I know the Lower Dunton Road site with the Bloor Home development was granted on appeal. However, there were issues over there with the sustainability. Now they increased the frequency of bus services. Now, this particular one is only going to have 1 an hour, Monday to Friday. Monday to Saturday. Do we think this particular development, is in a sustainable location to go elsewhere? The bus service is only from this location to Basildon Town Centre. Where's it going the other way? It doesn't say in the report where it's going the other way. So there are questions here about sustainability of the location and whether or not we know what the Essex travel plan is. People want to be less car friendly, they want to be walking, cycling, etc. There's footpaths being proposed on site, but not off site, and these are major roads. Westmain coming off the roundabout, it's a very, very busy road. So I'm just concerned about the sustainability of the location next to a major industrial estate as well, where you've got the car dealerships, you've got businesses there, lorry parks, you've got a very busy junction for Ford Dunton just up the road, and just south you've got the train line. Just a bit concerned about sustainability and also the access to services. Now, you can get the bus into Basildon Town Centre. I don't know where the bus goes the other way. The report just says goes to Basildon Town Centre. And obviously back again, but does the bus stop there? It must go somewhere else. I think it's very important to talk about sustainability of location, especially when we're talking about Greenbelt. It's not really addressed in terms of that respect, distances and how people can actually go about their daily lives. Now, if we look at some of the housing estates that already exist, such as in Durham Road, etc., there are already pre-existing bus routes very much nearby with Maryland's primary school. These particular areas have bus routes which go all day long, 20 minutes, every 40 minutes, every half hour, depending on which number you need. This particular location for 146 houses, now having a bus route once an hour, is not going to secure that, and I can't see any footpaths across a major roundabout, across major roads, that will get you to those locations for buses. So I just wondered if you could, if you've got any further information on that.
Yeah, so page 59, again, I don't know what it is on your electronic devices, but paragraph 5.53. So it talks about accessibility to local facilities, shops and services. There is a plan on there. Mine's in black and white, actually, so yours may be in colour. Yeah, and it does show you where the proposed bus stop will be. Also, it shows you obviously the employment zones, etc., Tesco's, and shows you the primary school, secondary school. And if you follow the colour route, again, I can't see what colour it is because mine's in black and white, it does show you the routes that it would take across Westmain, Again, I haven't got the road names in front of me, but it does show you the route there to the secondary school. And on the following page, there is a table that's been taken from the transport assessment that talks about the distance to supermarkets, employment zones, the train station, which is Langdon, as well as secondary school. Actually, it doesn't say in brackets here what colour the lines are. So I think purple to the secondary school. But it talks about the distances if they were to cycle, how long it would take 13 minutes to cycle, 37 minutes to walk. So they are set out there in the report for you. And it does talk about crossing facility as well within that report.
But it's still very concerning with the fact that the route to a secondary school that's proposed is still predominantly along West Main, which is a very, very busy and high-speed road, or 50-mile-an-hour road. It does, as I said, it can cut into the bit on Victoria Avenue or whatever it's called at the top. Let's look at maps, see the name of the road again. But then it then crosses back over the roundabout to get back to a secondary school. That normally when you're walking, you know, I mean, as I did as a child, I lived in Shotgate in Wickford. I went to Beauchamps High School. That walk was down, you know, a 30-mile-an-hour road, which is considered to be a main road. This particular route is for a 50-mile-an-hour road. At least, yeah. Legally 50 miles an hour. Yeah. It just strikes me that there is an issue here, because secondary school people don't always, you know, again, parents will drive to school, and some kids will walk, some kids will cycle. But in terms of this particular route that they found, I think Essex should relook at this, because there's no way that I would feel happy with, say, a child of mine of 12, 13, 14, perhaps, you know, walking to school across on a crossing on West Main, going to school. I just feel that's unacceptable, considering the amount of traffic that goes down there. Now, we've all been down there. I mean, some of us have gone to, you know, Toomey's on site, looked at cars, gone to Dunton, driven in to go to Langdon, Tesco, or to Langdon Hills, you know, for whatever reasons. It does get very busy in the mornings and in the evenings. So obviously school time is around those rush hour times. School pick up not so much, but the morning time does concern me. Now you look at so on my map, it's a pink line going to the primary school, which then goes to yellow line, which then intersects with the pink line to Langdon train station. Now that also crosses West Main directly as a primary school, and whilst some schools have a walking bus or something like that, you are still crossing a road where drivers can be inconsiderate. And we as a planning committee need to consider not just material, but also the real life applications of these developments as well. Now, we can say that, do we feel like this is a sustainable travel route? I would say no, it isn't. And I could probably back that up. In terms of one proposed bus stop, again, it's a red line, but a red line doesn't go elsewhere. Don't know where the bus goes from Basildon Town Centre. It goes back, but where does it go after that? So the map is showing a red line to Basildon Town Centre, sorry, a green line to Basildon Town Centre, but it doesn't show where it goes after that. So where are these buses going? I don't quite understand the rationale behind, you know, having sustainable transport on the bus stop without, you know, is the bus going to stop there for everyone to stay in the lay-by and turn round an hour later? Doesn't make any sense.
Sorry, I was just looking at the report. So yeah, the bus obviously the bus stop itself is going to be new anyway.
Sorry, Councillor, I think you're making a point around whether the location is sustainable and whether access gives it provision and access to amenities and services within the borough. I think the report itself demonstrates that there are access routes to those services and amenities within the borough. It doesn't go into detail around the bus service provision beyond those amenities or services, but it clearly highlights that it is within an accessible location and does have access to those services and amenities.
Thank you for that. What I'm saying is I do agree that there are walkways and things that have been found. What I'm questioning is whether or not these walkways are actually sustainable because of where they are, going down main roads and things like that. Do we really consider that to be a sustainable location for walk routes to be?
Have you, Councillor Myers, you finished? I'd just like to add something to it. The bus routes, you know, are we, after what Councillor Myers said, are we guaranteed that they're going to stay? Because along Dunton Road, they're not there no more. They've taken them away. And, you know, I feel that we should put some conditions on that the bus route should, because down further is the caravan park as well. And I know a lot of people use the bus places there. Thank you.
Sorry. So, yes, as part of the Section 106 contributions, monetary contributions, we've sought 390,000 towards the bus services. That money will last 5 years. After that, bus services become self-sufficient based on the frequency that they're used by residents. So we have sought 390,000 for that bus service for a period of 5 years.
I do think it should be a little bit longer than that. And something else I'd like to mention as well. On the conditions, have we put Swift boxes on the houses?
Yes, we have. Just let me find the condition for you. Condition 23.
Thank you. Councillor Journay.
Thank you very much, Chair. I would just like to reiterate what Councillor Myers said in regards to James Hornsby High School and obviously the bus route there as well. Thinking about children who walk to and from this particular destination or the planning application location and James Hornsby High School. As someone who did attend James Hornsby High School, I do recall walking that route many, many times, and it is an extremely dangerous road going down there. So what traffic calming measures are we going to introduce as part of this planning application to ensure that that 40 road, which is not really 40 when people start driving 50, 60 miles an hour down it, what are we going to be doing to ensure the safety of not only the pedestrians but also school children walking to and from this particular area? Thank you very much.
Just to clarify, do you mean calming measures to West Main in particular?
Yes, so you can see the long road as we go down the 40 mile an hour road, which has no it has no CCTV, it has no like traffic lights or speed cameras, anything like that. So how are we going to ensure the safety of our children as they walk down this route? Thank you.
So West Main predominantly falls outside the red line. I mean, there's a part of it does fall within the red line, but there won't be any safety measures along West Main itself, unless obviously highways think that it's necessary to reduce the speed. But within the scope of the application, there won't be any calming measures along West Main.
Yeah, just want to go back to the point that you quite rightly made, Chairman. We keep on seeing this all the time now, but yeah, where we're going to give so many £100,000 to the bus service, etc. And we hear that all the time. We always hear it's also 5 years, and we also hear that after 5 years it's self-sufficient. It's not. Mo's just actually Chairs at Mern's actually just more or less said that. It's just, to me, it's just a a sweetener, which I've never, and I know it's not just this application. I think all the applications I've always asked questions about when does the bus service. I did notice it on this one. It started from day one that it was going to happen. So I did notice that on this application, which is rare to have it on an application. So fair play to the developers for putting that in there. But I totally agree with the chairman. Is that you put something like this in as a sweetener, it's going to be self-sufficient in five years. No, they won't. They'll expect the council or somebody else to subsidise it, which where we can't, and that's the reality of it. So, and as Mo said, I don't know what area you actually said it was, Mo, but whatever area it was, that's exactly what's happened. They take the service away.
Thank you, Councillor Blake. Councillor Alex Harrison.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to ask a quick question about point 5.3.32 about the 40% of the site being public open space. I take it currently that's 0% open public open space, and it's all sort of private land, and then also that 40% will be for anybody to go to, not just people who live on the site.
Yes, correct. It would be open space to not just the occupiers of the site, but anybody within the vicinity that would like to walk there and use that open space. It will be accessible to them as well.
Right, and just on how much of the open space, how much of the site's open space now? Is that 0%?
It's 40% of the overall site is open space. So I think I said in my presentation 3 point. Oh, currently. Sorry, no, it's not open to the public at the moment. It's an agricultural field, so you can't access the site. The public can't access the site, so you can't use it at the moment.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Is there any more clarifications? No? Well, can we go on to now for people of the public to speak? Can I call upon Paul Haggis from Crest Nicholson, please? If you'd like to come to the front, where the... Yes. And press the red button. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair and members of the committee, for the opportunity to speak in support of this planning application. I'll stop bleeping.
Do carry on.
Thank you.
Sorry. Apologies.
Thank you, Chair and members of the committee, for the opportunity to speak in support of this planning application. Crest Nicholson are a national house builder committed to delivering well-designed, sustainable homes and vibrant communities, combining architectural excellence with an efficient approach to development. We have undertaken a comprehensive engagement programme, including pre-application discussions, meeting with key stakeholders and engaging with the public, allowing for feedback throughout the process as proposals have been developed. The application site sits in a wider area of farmland to the west of Basildon, which has an allocation in the Regulation 18 version of the draft local plan. It presents an opportunity to bring forward development within the Greenbelt under very special circumstances, whilst meeting the golden rules as set out within the latest version of the NPPF. The proposal will provide 146 new homes to the borough, contributing to the area's unmet housing need. 50% of these will be affordable housing, providing affordable rent, social rent, shared ownership and discount market sale homes. These will be delivered at a density of 32 dwellings per hectare, comprising 2 and 2.5 storey buildings. The scheme is designed in accordance with the National Design Guide, Essex Design Guide and Essex Parking Standards. The application site is in a sustainable location and sustainable modes of transport will be enhanced through active travel infrastructure and Section 106 financial contributions. The site will deliver 3.3 hectares of open space, approximately 40% of the site, and it will provide both existing and new residents with access to good quality green spaces, including play areas. The scheme will also contribute to nature recovery through the delivery of 21% biodiversity net gain. In total, financial contributions in excess of £2.5 million have been agreed. These will be used towards bus service enhancements on West Main, primary and secondary school spaces, open space, culture, play and sports provision, employment skills and healthcare services. These will be tangible and direct benefits to the wider community. The proposals represent responsible plan-led development that meets policy requirements and will deliver lasting benefits for existing communities as well as future residents of the new homes. Crucially, it will help to meet the need for new housing within the borough. I respectfully ask the committee to approve this plan application. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul Haggis. Thank you. Can I now call Kevin Winfield, please?
Thank you, Chair. This application is for a major development in the Green Belt, not Grey Belt, but Green Belt. And the report you have in front of you is clear that harm to the Green Belt is inappropriate development. That means the loss of openness and the loss of ancient countryside. Using the so-called golden rules must not become a golden ticket for developers. Once our Green Belt is gone, it is gone forever, and this will set a very dangerous precedent. But what are we offered in return? There will be an open space and a playground, yes, but there's nothing provided for teenagers or for adults, and a few patches of grass do not create the kind of community and social interaction the NPPF demands. There are no shops, no cafes, no GPs, no community halls, no pubs, nothing that serves to bring people together. The site itself is cut off, it's bounded by open land on one side and a fenced-off Ford site and industrial estate on the other. This development won't be integrated into the wider community of Langdon and is of a completely different character to Dunton. It will sit apart as an isolated enclave reliant on already stretched services and facilities elsewhere in the ward. The natural environment would be lost with farmland, hedgerows and countryside character all replaced with hard standing and housing. On travel, the application assumes a quarter of trips will be made on foot. Yet the nearest primary schools are over a mile away, requiring a walk alongside a busy 50-mile-an-hour road with just half a metre verge with no barriers separating the pavement from the live traffic. Are parents going to be comfortable letting their kids walk along that route? No. Realistically, most parents will drive, and that's an extra 24 extra cars at the school gates every morning and afternoon in residential streets around Maryland and Great Berry schools that are already gridlocked at these times. And that's just school traffic, not to mention the parking pressure placed on these streets from commuters using the train station. But we're told there will be a bus service, but it's only guaranteed while subsidised. When the funding ends, it will vanish altogether. And let's be honest, even with a bus route available, most people will still choose their cars, and I think you all know that that's true. Some affordable housing is promised, but in reality, for most Basildon residents, it's only affordable on paper and remains out of reach. Only a tiny 4 homes are to be provided for social rent where we see the greatest need. That is a token gesture and not a real solution. So what we really have is an unsustainable, car-dependent housing estate isolated from existing neighbourhoods, offering no real facilities, placing pressure on neighbouring areas and eroding the countryside, delivering very little that actually meets local need. This application won't meet the needs of residents, existing or new residents. So please do the right thing, members, and reject this application. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin Wingfield. County Councillor Jeff Henry.
Good. Thank you, Madam Chairman, for allowing me to speak on this. I don't see the point in re-raising a lot of the issues that former Councillor Wingfield has raised and other members here tonight. It is very regrettable that we're losing Greenbelt. I know this area very well. I've represented it for 8 years at county, 6 years here. It is not quite maybe as the reports suggest it is. This is a hugely trafficked area. If there is one single problem on the A127, West Main and Lower Dunton Road are the absolute cut-through. We've had accident after accident there. We have a a small and very, very busy industrial park, light industrial park, that becomes an overnight lorry park. Incredible amounts of traffic going through there. My biggest issue, and this would be the one that I'm raising on behalf of the residents and businesses that have approached me, is the lack of consultation and the lack of a say on this. And that's the biggest issue that we're having with all of these. This isn't just 146 houses. This forms the bigger part of 600, which is only a third of the amount of houses expected in that area. This is farmland. Once it's gone forever. And our residents are being asked by one A4 post on a lamppost or newspaper things put in a thing that's not even in print anymore. The yellow advertiser is not even in print locally. It's a subscription online service. They're not being consulted. They have, purely for this and for other reasons, formulated a constituted residents association on the caravan park. It's 180 people that feel that they're cut out of this. So with this and things like the pylons coming down the same road, things like the battery park that was approved only a couple of weeks ago, it is just a constant sword of Damocles for development. This isn't against the developer. The park owners themselves have plans to put another 80 homes on the site. And why wouldn't they? It's their job to sweat the asset and get as much money out of it as possible. I think largely most of the residents expect that this will be passed, but what their bone of contention is that they're being cut out of any conversation around that. They're not being given a right of reply. They're not being given any sort of form of representation. This afternoon I took Richard Holden MP down to meet with them, and he will be making representations about this general area to this council. But I did want to come here tonight and just formally talk of some of the concerns of the residents. This isn't against the council, it isn't against the developer. In fact, I know one of them, he's a county councillor with me at Essex. This isn't against anybody other than the fact that residents feel cut out. Councillor Wingfield, former Councillor Wingfield, has made all of the very, very relevant points that could be made about this, as have other panel members tonight on all sides. Thank you for the opportunity, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, County Councillor Jeff Henry. Can we now open it up to members? Anybody like to speak on this before we go into the vote? Councillor Journet.
Thank you very much. I mean, some of the information that we've heard today, I mean, is quite telling, especially in regards to the bus routes, the walking routes, and the lack of consultation as well. I think it's very, very clear on this basis that building on Greenbelt is not what the people of Basildon want. It's not what we want, and like one of our speakers said today, once you start building on farmland, it's gone, it's done. So on that basis, I cannot back this today. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Baker.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just give a little bit of background on how I see this. Firstly, I respectfully disagree with the planning officer's assessment that this does not constitute grey belt land. I mean, my view, based upon my understanding of the grey belt regulations and also the precedent of other applications we've seen go through this planning committee in recent times, means personally I would assess it as grey belt land. I do agree, however, with the planning officer's assessment on the planning balance in terms of how that sits and the very special circumstances. So for those reasons, I'll be supporting the application, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Baker. Anybody else? Councillor Myers, then Councillor Blake.
Thank you, Chair. Now, obviously, finally, after nearly, perhaps, 7-8 months, we finally had an application that is not considered to be grey belt. We're back to the old school green belt rules, finally. Now, when I look at this application and the site itself and what it means, so I'm here on paragraph 5.1.23 on the 2023 Greenbelt study of how we can see the harm to the Greenbelt purposes. Purpose 1, high. purpose 2, moderate, purpose 3, high, purpose 4, okay, it's not historic town, low. We see these sites on the edge of our borough. Once they're gone, they're gone. And there is nothing, I mean, and we talk in the report as well about having a nice edge to Greenbelt. This particular application won't create a nice edge to Greenbelt. It will stagger it around the Dunton roundabout. I don't quite understand. Obviously, we're going through that argument. Now, in terms of its suitability in its location and the Greenbelt purposes, obviously we can see that being on the edge will restrict urban sprawl between this part of the borough and West Horndon and the rest of Thurrock, considering the fact that the 3,600 homes proposed basically be given the go-ahead in Brentwood for the Dunton Garden Village will be going ahead. Now, this creates the problem of reducing that gap. Now, we look at each application as it comes, I do agree. But then where do we stop doing that, and when do we start looking at, we know what's coming forward, we know what's been approved. This will totally eradicate that gap of what's already been approved by Brentwood and the other side by Thurrock around West Horndon and what they're interested in. The declaration of interest for the 10,000 houses for a new town in that area. But then when we look at its sustainability, I touched on this earlier, I don't agree that this area is in a sustainable location for Greenbelt, or any housing purposes, let alone Greenbelt. The area is on the edge of an industrial estate. It is near the Toomey car dealership. It has traffic going in there all day, Monday to Sunday. Actually, I'm not sure what happens Sunday. Some are, some aren't. But Monday to Saturday, all day, people go and look at cars, pick up new cars coming in on transporters, new cars going out on transporters. There are lorries parked up. It's a very busy road. People coming off of Dunton, etc. But then when we look at the schools, when we look at the facilities nearby, yes, okay, they might be within 1.6 miles. The school might be within 2.7 miles, but that's nearly a 37-minute walk down. Partially, I understand what Councillor Journet is saying, a 40-mile-an-hour road, but some of it is 50 miles an hour, walking down pathways which aren't necessarily lit up, which aren't necessarily protected from the environments. Like I said earlier, I went to school down 30-mile-an-hour roads as kids should be. I don't consider this to be in a reasonably sustainable location. The Tesco supermarket is nearby, but there's no local shops. There's no gym nearby. There's no on site. It's going to be a playground and a bit of open space for the people that are there, for no one else other than the people that are there. So, in my view, in my particular view, this particular location, Greenbelt notwithstanding, I've spoken about that, but notwithstanding its sustainability and its location, with the amount of traffic that's there, with the amount of heavy goods loads that go down there, because we did mention we've got Tesco nearby, their lorries go down there all the time. I think it's very, very ill-conceived and not very well considered for this piece of land to be used for housing in our borough. So for those reasons, I'll be voting against it. Thank you.
Councillor Blake.
I keep on doing that, don't I? I'll start again. I do apologise. Yeah, I fully support the officer's recommendation that this is Greenbelt, rather than just a member of the committee who just thinks it should be Greybelt. My issue, to be honest, it's listening to the annex next to me, and some of the residents have really brought it home regarding the which I never paid enough attention to. I openly admit that, regarding the crossings and the walking and the distance from that. That's something that's really hit home, which is why we have a planning committee to decide those, so we can hear all the views from everybody else and take it all on board. That's the idea. Otherwise, if we just look at a recommendation on here, we'll just pass it. So it's listening to the people. It's the fact that there is nothing there. The shops, not even a corner shop, that you could use. You've got to go God knows how far. God knows how far it is to the local nearest shop and amenity. And I think, as mentioned before, you can put a bus service there. It's not going to. They won't use it. We know that people that sort of distance they're going to go by car. And as I say, the children walking that distance as well, if they do go along those paths, didn't realise it didn't have barriers up. All this sort of information, which is really great information to hear from the public, that they're going to be so near to a very, very fast road. And I know we've got to go by what highway says. If they say it's a 50 miles an hour, it's a 50 miles an hour. But there are many people in here will tell you that is not what cars go down that avenue. They do not. And then the other point, which I had totally and used it myself, so I apologise to ex-councillor Wingfield when he said the issue is if something happens on the A127, where does all that traffic go? And he's absolutely right. That was brought to my attention. It's absolutely horrendous down there. And I've been a culprit of that, if I'm being honest, because I know the area so well, lived here all my life, that I can use those shortcuts. So bearing all that in mind, I think that the possibility of a child getting knocked down and getting injured, let alone everything else, is something that I don't think I could live with on my conscience, to be honest with you. So, the fact that I do believe in, I have voted on developments in Greenbelt, but on this particular occasion, my principle is I like to see Greenbelt preserved. Once it's gone, it's gone. So I won't be supporting this recommendation on the grounds that I have very serious concerns about the traffic. And also about the children getting to and from places and having nothing in the area for them to go to. It's all designated little play areas, no even youth centre or nothing at all. Just think they've missed a trick there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kevin Blake. Councillor Alex Harrison.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I mean, I've heard a lot of members this evening talking about the fact that there's not been enough consultation. I'm just looking through the agenda here from pages 11, 12, 13, 14, so 4 pages worth of consultees, sort of professional consultees. Every single one of them says no objection, and not a single one has any objection to it. And then on page 15, 37 of the surrounding properties were notified by letter, and only 5 of them responded with objections, which, as we all know, means that there are 32 of the neighbouring properties which don't have a problem with it. Otherwise, they would have, I'm sure, responded to the consultation. So that's and so yeah, the arguments around there not being enough consultation, frankly, isn't true. And then around the sort of urban small point that Councillor Myers said, the agenda does point out that West Horndon is the next closest place where people live, and that is frankly miles away. So it's not like a situation that we've had in other places where it's connecting towns. It is miles and miles away, and that's it says in the agenda that's the next closest. So I don't buy that argument either. But frankly, homes are needed. We all know that. As Charles pointed out earlier, although the agenda, and I agree with Councillor Blake that maybe we should have an up-to-date number rather than keep using the 1.88. But even the up-to-date number is 2.2, which is less than half of the 5 years that we need. So we're still a long way behind where we need to be in terms of in terms of 5-year housing land supply. But the one point that nobody's mentioned so far, which I thought was brilliant, is the over £1.8 million contribution to education. So 1 million for primary education and 800,000 for secondary, which is very large for a. You would expect that amount for sort of a development of 400 homes, not 140. So that is something that's very, very impressive to me as well. As well as the 40% of the site, which is public open space, which as we pointed out earlier, that public open space is currently 0%. So yeah, I think there's a lot of positives that maybe members haven't been focusing on this evening.
Thank you, Councillor Harrison. Councillor Mike Baker, and then.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I'd just like to add one point that I didn't mention earlier on, which is that obviously this development proposed is right next to some of our key business and employment assets within the borough of Basildon, and it potentially offers the opportunity for people who might be living some considerable distance away from those assets, which employ thousands and thousands of people, to actually come and live in our borough right next door to where they're working.
Councillor Kevin Blake.
Yeah, just the point that Alex made there about the education and whatnot. That was what we raised that yesterday at the technical briefing in some detail. Because if I remember rightly, that they specified what they're actually going to spend it on now, which again is unusual. I will give that, because normally my argument yesterday at the technical briefing was quite, unless you're going to supply more rooms and teachers, you know, what's the money going to be spent on? More books and whatnot? No, really, could we have more children? We've got to have more areas for them to go, more rooms, more teachers, etc. But the issue I think we raised here as well is they've got to get to that school, and that's my concern. They've actually got to get to that school, and that's the concern that I have.
Councillor Alex Myers.
Yeah, just to say, you know, a caveat on what Councillor Baker just said. Okay, you're going to say, you know, houses can be built, it'll be live next to, you know, very important employment opportunities and employment sites. But what's to say that the land itself, you know, now been taken up by houses, can't be used for an expansion of a very, very important economic developer in the town? Now, Greenbelt is Greenbelt, etc. But I'm just putting that caveat out there.
Thank you, Councillor Myers. Councillor Journet.
Thank you very much, Chair. So obviously we're noting about the £800,000 going to secondary schools. Obviously James Hornsby High School is a school which has waiting lists up to its ears. So how much of this £800,000 is going to go directly to James Hornsby, and do we know roughly how many teachers are going to be employed because of this application? Do we know?
Actually, we did. You should have done that on clarifications.
That's fine. In that case, then, if the £800,000 isn't spent on James Hornsby, or spent to invest in these secondary schools, how can we pass this planning application on the basis that that at the moment current local kids cannot actually get into these schools? So unless we're going to spend £800,000, and it's going to have to be an annual spend, it can't just be one £800,000 payment, because to teachers they cost £30,000-40,000 a year. Yes, you might get 10 teachers off of that, but what happens in 2-3 years? Is James Hornsby then going to have to lay off a load of teachers because they can't afford them? And then what happens then? Have we got 50 to 100 children who then need to find themselves in new schools just because the current school cannot house them, basically? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Journet. I think now we've debated it long enough now. I think we'll go into the recommendation. Okay? That the planning application number 2400729 be granted conditional planning permission subject to no calling powers being exercised by the Secretary of State. The completion of a 106 agreement to secure 50% affordable housings on site, together with financial contributions towards healthcare improvements, education, local delivery pilot scheme, sustainable transport, bus service contribution, bus stop improvements, travel plan, employment and skills maintenance, and monitoring of the approved biodiversity game plan for a period of 30 years. Open spaces, monitoring fees, payment of the local planning authority, professional and legal fees associated with the completion of the 106 agreement as set out in section 7.0 and subject to the conditions set out in the end of the report, with any amendments that might be necessary up to the issue of the decision notice. All those in favour, please show. Okay. Any abstentions? All those against? I think the application is now granted. Thank you. I will be going in for a 10-minute break because we've been going for a long time. It's nearly 10 to 9. Thank you for your patience. Right.
It's only an application for my house to build a mansion as well.
Oh, is it? All right, okay, then. No worries. Just make sure you let everyone know you've got a registered interest there as well.
One is coming up in a couple of weeks.
Judicial review, is this working?
Hope we've had a nice break now, hopefully. We'll go into item 5. Oh, you okay? Yeah. Right, okay. Item 5, variation of condition, 19 approved plans of planning reference 1600898 out and 200756 NMABAS and to alter layout and form of house type 2 and house type 5 and block of flats together with relocation of car parking spaces within Beechwood, North Fays at Craylands, Beechwood Village, Basildon. Can I pass this over to David Gill, please? Thank you, David.
Thank you, Chairman. So, as you stated, it relates to Beechwood North Fays. I won't go through the description. But the application site is, as shown, edged in red on the site. It's the north phase of the wider Craylands Beechwood Village regeneration. This area, as part of the wider scheme, was granted permission in 2017. The proposal included the former Free School site, which has now been developed as the west phase, and this is now the next area to be developed. The site itself currently is just hauled off, has been cleared of the maisonette blocks that were on the site, as well as 14 houses, and surrounded by like 1960s two-storey houses that remain on the estate. So the site we're looking at is roughly the top central part of that aerial photograph. As you can see, there's been some development to the west. That's the more recent development. It's now, or is nearly completed since that aerial photograph. Pushing the wrong one. So the proposal is to vary the approved plans. This part of the scheme involved the replacement of 105 dwellings with 96 new dwellings, 88 houses and 8 flats. The applicants are now wishing to just modify 2 house types within the phase, as well as some changes to the proposed a block of flats. Next one, make sure I push on. The proposed house types are slightly different from the original proposal. The original scheme, they were like terraced elements shown on the left-hand side there, with a first floor link and a undercroft type parking arrangement, and 2-storey in height, no accommodation in the roof space. The applicants have reconsidered the design, and they're now looking at more of in this house type, a semi-detached arrangement with accommodation in the roof space to replace that lost at the first floor level above the car parking areas. The design is, say, slightly more open. The actual properties are slightly higher in overall height. In terms of the overall numbers of the scheme, within the scheme, there's no change in that. The only slight change is one of the original 2-bed proposed dwellings is now a 3-bed, but that was more to do with the arrangement of these first floor areas, where there was one of the properties didn't have that. It's now accommodating a 3rd floor within the roof space. Again, the house type or the corner types, there's 4 corner properties proposed. They're looking at changing those to these kind of 2.5-storey arrangements with asymmetrical roof forms. These will be your corner features, just to add a little bit of interest as you turn in the corners. In terms of the flat blocks, they've rearranged those. Originally there was going to be a central communal area that led up to the first floor flats. They felt that that would be kind of more of a management issue, additional costs to the residents as well, and so they've looked at provided all entrance doors on the frontage of the property, so you'd come in your doorway either going to the ground floor flat or upstairs to the first floor. There also a rearrangement of the amenity area, so the ground floor flats have got their own individual little small garden areas, and the first floor will have a balcony area, and they've also redesigned the external appearance to have a kind of this front gable features, which has been repeated elsewhere on this phase of the scheme. So the main aspects or key issues in this case are the whether the proposals will significantly change the character of the area compared to what was previously agreed, any potential impact on neighbours, and parking issues themselves. In terms of, say, character, you can see there's not significant changes in the scale or form of the proposed dwellings. In terms of neighbours, the layout proposed is near enough identical in terms of garden depths, distances from either the proposed dwellings to the rear or existing dwellings that are to be retained. Garden areas are again nearly identical to that previously approved. So in terms of the character, it's not felt there's been significant changes in that respect. In terms of neighbours, they've also, on these kind of semi-detached properties, they've proposed some side windows, and they will be appropriately conditioned to ensure that where there's potential overlooking, there will be obscure glass permanently retained to stop any concerns in that respect. As I said, final aspect is, I think I forgot to mention, there is some fewer parking spaces now proposed as part of the scheme, and what they've put forward is a parking survey of the existing situation and assessed how many there is being used at this current time, and they're going to provide an equivalent amount of unallocated parking spaces, so they're available for existing residents and any visitors, and it's not felt that that would lead to any issues in terms of parking within the estate as a whole. Therefore, in terms of the kind of planning balance, the proposal will enable continued regeneration of the estate and move it forward, hopefully as very soon, provide much needed affordable housing. So in this case, all the units will be affordable, providing social rents as part of an agreement with the council, providing nomination rights from the council's housing waiting list. And the only negative is the loss of the parking spaces. We feel that with the surveys that have been carried out, we don't feel that it will lead to any issues, and it's also considered to be a very sustainable location, so people will have the option of buses and such like. So it's therefore been recommended to the committee, subject to the various revised conditions set out on pages 120 to 137. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, David. We'll go into clarifications now. Have you any clarifications? Councillor Blake.
Just a quickie, you may or may not know this, and it's just from my own information. Have you got any idea of the completion on that, just out of interest? I'm not bothered, it's just my own peace of mind.
I understand that if they get permission, then they're hoping to start, within the next 6 months, maybe a year, depending on the attendance.
It was just a technical.
Councillor Mike Baker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, David, sorry, I've had a really good look in the report. I can't find how many residences there actually are within the red boundary that you've drawn on that map. Do you have that information to hand?
Yeah, within the red boundary, currently there's none, because it's all been demolished, but there was, say, 115 dwellings. They were like 7 maisonette blocks, 4-storey maisonette blocks, and 14 houses. Does that answer it?
Yeah, part of the reason I asked was with relation to the parking situation, because I think I'm right in saying that the parking regulations state that for every residence of 2 bedrooms or more, there should be 2 parking spaces. So I just wanted to satisfy myself that the number of parking spaces available would align with that regulation.
I say, in terms of the parking standards, there's been slight change. The current standards are slightly vary depending on the connectivity of the site. So I think this area is relatively high connectivity, so it may well be a slightly lower level. But in terms of the proposed dwellings, they will each have in terms of the flats, they have it adjoining a communal car park. But the actual houses all have on-site parking. The majority of those are 2 spaces, and where there's 1 space on site, there is allocated parking adjoining those properties. And the 100 and whatever, I can't remember the unallocated spaces are within either adjoining the roadways themselves or separate parking areas.
Sorry, just to finish, so you're satisfied that the parking regulations are being met with the 146 parking spaces? Is that up and down a bit?
That's
right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Baker. Councillor Journet.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So just in regards to, obviously, the changing of the units, are these going to be reduced into smaller affordable units, or are we replacing them with bigger, pricier homes? And if so, who benefits, the community or the developer's profit sheet?
They are all social rent properties, 100% for social rent. So they're a housing association.
So that's fine. Are they smaller homes or are they bigger homes that we're proposing here?
Well, this is a variation on the previous scheme. So they're all, except for one which I mentioned, is going to be 3 bedrooms. They're all exactly the same, 3 or 4 bedrooms from what was previously agreed.
And obviously in regards to the amount of parking spaces that are being reduced now, so 76 car parking spaces are being reduced. Can you confirm how many parking spaces there was originally on the original application?
Well, that will be, in terms of what was approved.
What was approved previously?
Yeah,
what was
that would be 76 plus, what was he on? Is it 285 at the moment? So that would be about 361.
Fine. Yeah. And just in regards to obviously the consultation process, I see that you did a couple of nights in December 2024, just seeing how many cars were there. Did you speak to any of the residents? Because I know in Beechwood there's already some problems there in regards to overspill onto side roads. Have we discussed that with the residents, or is it just something that's been brought forward by the developer?
Well, the developer carried out the traffic survey. However, as part of the application, we consulted, 341 properties, and not one of them actually commented on lack of parking. One comment was to do with could they be allocated a parking space rather than having to look around for spaces. But other than that, nobody commented on the parking issues.
So are you comfortable, are you confident that the reduction of these parking spaces will not prove won't be problematic for local residents?
Yeah, yes, in my opinion, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Journet. Anybody else? No? Okay. I think we have a Georgia Tuttle, which is on video remote.
Hello, hi. There's a lot of sound coming back at me. I don't know if that can... that's a lot better, thank you very much. Cool, yeah, I'm ready to start. Hi, my name is Georgia Tuttle and I'm a planner at Iceni Projects and I work on behalf of the applicant Sanctuary Housing Association. The application relates to the north phase of Beechwood Village redevelopment within the Craylands estate, which secured planning permission under the 2016 hybrid application. The northern face of the development comprises 96 residential dwellings that are a mix of detached and terraced houses and a block of flats together with new roadways. This application seeks to amend the approved layout to deliver 2 new housing types as well as alter the layout of the flat block. There are no proposed changes to the overall quantum of housing units or housing mix. Instead, the proposed amendments look to enhance the layout. This proposal is for the removal of the undercroft parking areas, which are currently predominantly used for storage space and result in an untidy street frontage. They also have poor heating insulation in the bedrooms over the parking areas, and so the properties will be altered from 2-storey terraces to 2.5-storey semi-detached and detached homes with parking provided on plot. The apartment block has been reworked to provide new high-quality homes. Each flat has been converted to a maisonette with its own private entrance. In addition, each flat will have its own private amenity area. Other changes relate to internal layout and location of windows, doors to avoid overlooking and to meet building regs. With regard to highways, the road layout will not change. However, the proposal will result in a reduction of 76 car parking spaces. The loss of car parking is largely from Peterborough Way. Given the distance from the residential units and lack of surveillance, these parking spaces are not considered suitable or safe. A survey has been carried out and was provided with the application and confirmed that the proposed level of car parking spaces is sufficient for demand within the estate and is consistent with Essex County Council's 2024 standards. Importantly, each dwelling will be provided with an average of 1.5 spaces per dwelling, with the main reduction affecting unallocated spaces and visitor spaces. The changes will create a safer development, giving greater opportunities for natural surveillance between properties without appearing out of character within the context. Furthermore, the site represents a sustainable location and the development promotes the use of sustainable and active modes of transport, including bus services and railway. Overall, the changes to the house and block of flats, together with associated parking, will enable the redevelopment of the North Face to move forward and provide much-needed affordable housing. On parking and highways grounds, it is considered that the proposed development will include an appropriate level of on-site car parking and would not lead to any significant increase in traffic levels on the surrounding roads. Overall, the development is considered acceptable and should be supported. Thank you.
Thank you, Georgia Tuttle. Now we'll go on to the application. Anybody wish to speak on that, please? No? Nobody? Kevin, and then...
Just slightly tongue-in-cheek. Somebody used to go to basketball school. It was a great pleasure to see Frians knocked down. Frians school knocked down.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, did you indicate to speak? Yes.
Thank you, Chair. And let's go with that one. Wasn't me, of course. Yeah, okay, so obviously the original application was granted to Swan, who, we had difficulties when went bankrupt, taken over by Sanctuary, so we can see why they're changing the housing layouts. It's basically what their standard guide is. It is disappointing that, some parking has gone. It is always disappointing when parking has gone, especially when you've got visitors and things. However, when you look at how long this site has taken to come forward, from the first lot of building from the west phase, and now looking at the north phase, I think it's important to look at the bigger picture of getting the Craylands estate redeveloped as quickly as possible. And if each dwelling itself has, their own car parking spaces, then I find that to be acceptable to what was there before. I do just find it disappointing that they've not taken on the southern portion of Craylands, but hopefully in due time they will reconsider and we'll take that on as well.
Thank you. Anybody else? Alex?
Thank you, Chair. I haven't got that much more to add, but just echo what Councillor Myers was saying around, I look forward one day to seeing this site completed. It's the classic line that gets rolled out every year every planning meeting when we're discussing Greylands that this started with when Tony Blair was Prime Minister and he came to visit the site and so it's frankly been dragging on long enough, and I know that's nobody's fault because of the issues with Swan, but I do look forward one day to seeing this completed.
Thank you, Councillor Alex Alison. Nobody else. I'd just like to say that it's disappointing that we're losing all those car parking spaces, which is always a bone of contention with everyone. But to get this through, it's got to be good. It's been so long happening. So I will go straight in to the recommendation now. That Committee resolves that planning application number 2400261 VAR be granted planning permission subject to the conditions set out in section 7 with any amendments that might be necessary up to the issue of the decision notice. All those in favour, please show. I think that's unanimous, so there's no abstentions or refusals. Thank you. Thank you, Dave. This is item 6, which is planning application number 2400191 VAR. Removal of condition 8 bollards to be provided on the existing highway verge of planning permission. 17th of the 10th, 1186 fall at Billericay Town Football Club, Bluntswell Road, Billericay, Essex. I think this is you, Ellie. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. So the application proposes the removal of condition 8, which was a condition to provide bollards on an existing highway verge outside of Billericay Town Football Club. As you can see in this aerial view, you've got the football club outlined in red and then the highway verge outlined in yellow at the bottom there. The removal of this condition has been requested by the applicants as the area of land to which this condition relates to is not under the applicant's ownership or the owners of Billericay Town Football Club. The land is also not owned by the Borough Council or County Council and therefore it's unregistered. Therefore, the condition cannot be complied with as the land is not within the control of the applicant. The condition was originally imposed to prevent indiscriminative parking on the highway verge. As part of this application, we have consulted with Essex County Council Highways and they've raised no objections to the removal of this condition and therefore it's not considered to cause detriment to highway safety, capacity or efficiency. In respect of the statement from the applicants in section 2.7 of my report, you can see the statement with further justification of the applicants wanting the removal of this condition. Environmental health, corporate estates, the arboriculture officer, the culture and health service, and as already said, County Council Highways have no objections to the removal of this condition. 48 surrounding neighbours were consulted and there was also 2 site notices displayed and there has been objections regarding the destruction of verges from parking, existing parking issues and needs for the bollards to be retained and maintained. This obviously is noted and the County Council have confirmed that they have no objections to the removal of this condition on them matters and the full consultation response is detailed within section 3.0. Obviously the principle of development in 5.1 clearly sort of outlines the tests needed for conditions and this condition does not meet all of them. And to conclude, the removal of the condition is not considered to cause detrimental harm to the residential amenities of the surrounding neighbour and occupiers, nor cause detriment to highway safety, and it also does not meet the tests set out in paragraph 57 of the NPPF. Therefore, we recommend that the application be approved for the removal of this condition. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellie. Clarifications. Councillor Myers.
Just one clarification, please. Obviously, the Borough Council and elsewhere have come along and said they don't own the land, and in the report it says that no one, you know, in the land registry, there's no report of anyone who owns that land. So when this was originally given permission, the condition was originally set. Must have been set for a reason. It must have been under someone's ownership when it was first set. I just wonder sort of what's changed since the condition was first put in on the original planning application.
Yeah, so from my understanding, the main purpose of the condition was purely because it was deemed necessary at the time to avoid parking issues on that. From my understanding also, I believe that this was a error in the condition in that there was never, it was never under our knowledge of who owned the land. So I don't think that has changed since then. I think it was just a error with the condition being put on, that it was put there, but unfortunately we can't enforce it and it can't be complied with.
Thank you, Councillor Myers. Anybody else on clarifications? No? Okay. Well, I think we have Ian Ansell here this evening. Would you like to come forward, Ian? Sorry it's been so long. And press the red button on the front.
Thank you, Chair. I've enjoyed listening to this evening's discussions anyway, so I don't think there's a lot to add. Ellie has done a perfect job introducing the report and said most of the things that I wanted to say. In answer to Councillor Myers' question, we did have an issue when the ground was first developed, but the club has worked hard with its users to try and address some of the parking issues, and we've obtained use of adjoining land in partnership to meet some of our parking needs. I hope members will support the club and take this responsibility off them. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian Ansell. Now open it up to any questions from anybody? Anybody? No? Okay, we'll go straight into the recommendation, which is that planning application number 2400191 VAR be granted conditional planning permission. All those in favour, please show. Thank you, everyone. It's granted. Thank you. Agenda item 7, deed of variation application 25001 71106C, modification of planning obligations section 106 agreement dated the 25th of 25 pursuant to application 2401419 full, seeking the removal of the occupancy restriction limited the homes to persons aged over 55 on land south side Dry Street, Langdon Hills, Basildon. I think this is you again, David. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. So just a quick review of what was the proposal was. So sites at the south side of Dry Street, junction with Northlands Approach, and the proposal, let's say, shows the area. There's kind of mix of plotlandy type tracks at the western end of Dry Street in Langdon Hills. And the proposal was for 2 bungalows. At the time, the application was considered by the committee. Officers stated they didn't feel that it was a grey belt. However, the committee considered grey belt and granted consent to say that it was in a sustainable location, housing need, and considered acceptable in that regard. But there's also a requirement that an obligation be imposed as part of that, that the occupiers of the units be aged over 55. So permission was granted in May following that. The applicants have done a review of the proposal, marketing and what have you, and they wish now to omit that restriction. They're saying they've had a high level of interest, but the actual restrictions have on the occupancy have kind of impacted on the potential buyers. But they say the intention of the obligation to have elderly people living in there could still be met without this obligation. There could be families living in there with elderly occupiers as part of the family group, and also be therefore meeting the council's overall borough-wide housing needs. As I say, since the application, further applications around the borough have been forthcoming, and appeal decisions, and officers are now feel that, as originally agreed, the site does fall within definitely grey belt, and given that, it's not felt that the obligation is something that we could uphold, given the housing needs in the borough, and therefore we don't feel there's any strong justification for its continued requirement in this instance, and therefore the removal of the obligation is being supported by officers as set out on the at the end of the report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, David. Any clarifications on this application? Anyone? It's been round a long time. Yeah. Did you have one, Councillor Knight? No? No? Alex, no? Right. I think then we can go into any questions. Councillor Myers.
Well, here we are again. This application was brought before us before David, you originally had it to refused, to a recommendation to refuse, and was brought back for the grey belt reasons, with a stipulation of this committee sitting here today, with the exclusion of Councillor Journet, who wasn't here yet at the moment, with a condition to be in, but these should be for the over 55s, 2 bungalows in Greenbelt land. Now, because the developer seems to think that he, can't obviously get that particular that age group of people in, now wants to remove that condition. I'm sorry, that's not our problem. That's a him problem. That's a developer problem. This committee, based on what we heard at the last meeting, and what was said at the last meeting by the developer and by officers and by us in discussions about what should be imposed on conditions, and said, oh, we're going to make it for the over 55s. There is an overarching need for it. We're going to call it grey belt. It's going to be, these people need to get out of their 3 and 4 bedroom homes in order to downsize, etc., etc. Now we're saying getting rid of that condition to do this. I'm sorry, there's playing games, and I cannot vote for this. It is taking the mickey out of, we put conditions in for a reason. They're not just to be, come back, get rid of them. They're there for a reason. And for that reason, I will not be voting for this.
Thank you, Councillor Myers. Councillor Kevin.
Yeah, a lot of what Alex said is what I've expressed before. I think it's terrible that and I heard what the barrister said earlier when he turned around and said a planning getting costs against you isn't a planning condition, and I agree with that. And if there's a chance, there's a chance that they could go to appeal and win on this, but sometimes you have to stand up and do what's right and wrong, because there's nothing to stop anybody else coming in doing exactly the same thing, coming to this planning committee saying we're going to have a house, we're going to have a few houses, might have 5 or 6 houses. It's on Greenbelt, but it's 5 or 6 houses. But you know what? You've got a need for over 55 housing, because I tell you what would have happened, and I'm speculating here. When you put up their pros and cons. When you put that up there that particular day for that, I bet you on there it had pros, how needed housing for over 55s. Because that's what your job is to do, to tell us, give us an informed, so we can be informed and make a decision on that. And it could have been that your presentation just swayed us, thinking, do you know what? I see that. We do need a bit of time for the 55s, and I'll go against my principles on the green belt, and I'll go with it. Yeah, and that could have swayed me, but to hear the fact that they want to do away with that, possibly because they either can't sell them, at that price, and they think, well, do I want to sell it over 55, or do you know what? Do I want to sell it on the open market to absolutely everyone and get even more bucks? That is not our problem. Again, it was exactly what you said. That is not what we're here. We're not here to make developers money. We're not here to cost the council money, in all honesty, but there are times when you have to stand up and be counted, and to me, this is 100% one of them, where, you know, they go to appeal. I think on those grounds, there wouldn't be one person on this committee that wasn't influenced the fact that it was for the over 55s. I may be wrong, and I'm happy for any of them to tell me different. I really am, but I can't believe there isn't one person on this committee that were not influenced by the decision to make it for the over 55 because there was a need. Clear definition there. Thank you.
Thanks you, Councillor Blake. Councillor Alex Harrison.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to say it. I completely agree with the both of you. I think it's pretty disgraceful that a developer has come to this committee knowing full well that they didn't have, let's face it, any intention of keeping to that over 55, because it was only, what, 2 months ago that we approved it. So they must have literally the next day thought, right, they've approved that, now let's change it. Because that's how long it usually takes for an application to come through. So it shows absolutely no respect at all to this committee that voted on that. And yeah, I mean, the fact that the developer isn't even here this evening to explain themselves, I think says it all. But yeah, I'm pretty disgusted that this has come to the committee, seeing as 2 months ago we voted on it, and as far as I can tell, you know, I assume that not a single brick has been laid yet, and so they clearly thought, okay, that's one tick, now let's get another one, and that's not how planning committees work, I'm afraid.
So it's getting late and I'm feeling really ill. The deed of variation number 2500001 S1 106C be agreed to remove the occupancy restriction limiting the home to persons aged over 55, along with payment of the council's professional and legal fees associated with amending the deed of variation. All those in favour, please show. All those against? I think that's a refusal. Right, thank you everybody. It's been a long evening. Safe journey home, and I hope I haven't given you all bug. I hope it's something